I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from. I need to know I'm not alone in this. They looked me straight in the eye and said, "We're too busy for your drama, Mom. Handle it yourself." My own children. The ones I raised sacrificed everything for put through college on a librarian's salary. They couldn't spare 15 minutes to let me share the grief of losing my only sister to cancer. So I did exactly what they told me to do. I handled it myself. I revised my entire will without breathing a word to anyone. And when they showed up 6 months later at the lake house in Vermont, treating it like it already belonged to them, demanding keys, planning renovations on their phones, they found my estate attorney sitting in the living room briefcase, open documents spread across the coffee table. The looks on their faces. I'll remember that moment for the rest of my life. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this really started. Because this isn't just a story about inheritance. It's about the moment I finally looked in the mirror and saw what I'd become and what I'd created. My name is Barbara, and I'm 72 years old. I've lived in Connecticut my whole life in a small town called Millbrook, where everybody knows everybody's business. I raised 3 children as a single mother after my husband Thomas passed away when I was 45. I worked as a school librarian for 33 years before I retired, and I thought I'd done everything right. That Tuesday morning in March, I was sitting in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd packed thousands of school lunches, helped with homework until midnight, nursed sick kids through chickenpox and broken hearts. The morning sun came through the curtains Thomas had hung 30 years ago, the ones I couldn't bring myself to replace. I'd been awake since 4 a.m., staring at my phone, working up the courage to make the call. My sister Patricia had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer 3 days earlier. Stage 4. The doctor had said it so matter-of-factly, like he was reading from a grocery list. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. We can make her comfortable, but... Patricia was only 67, just 5 years younger than me. We'd been inseparable our whole lives. Growing up in Hartford, we'd shared everything, closed secrets, dreams. When Thomas died, Patricia had driven from Boston every single weekend for 6 months, holding my hand while I cried, helping with the kids, making sure I ate. And now she was dying. I needed to talk to someone. I needed my children. I picked up my phone and called Jennifer first. She's 48 now, my eldest. Sharp as a tack, works in finance in Boston. She'd always been the responsible one, the achiever. Straight A's, full scholarship to Boston University MBA from Wharton. I was so proud of her. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. "Mom!" Jennifer's voice was clipped, rushed. I could hear traffic in the background, the click of her heels on pavement. "I'm literally about to walk into a meeting. What's up?" My throat tightened. "Jennifer, honey, I really need to talk. It's about Aunt Patricia." "Can it wait? This is a really important presentation. Like really important. We're pitching to a client that could save my division." I closed my eyes. "She's very sick, honey. The doctor said..." "Mom." Jennifer's voice had that edge to it, the one that meant she was out of patience. "I'm walking into the building right now. I'll call you this weekend, okay? I promise. I really have to go." "Jennifer, please, just..." The line went dead. I sat there for a full minute, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the silence. The kitchen clock ticked. Outside, I could hear Mrs. Chen next door starting her car for work. I told myself Jennifer was just stressed. Work pressure. The finance world was cutthroat. She'd call back. I scrolled through my contacts and called Michael. My son, my middle child, 45 years old. He lived in New Jersey with his wife Sarah and their 3 kids. Michael had always been my gentle one, thoughtful, the kind of boy who brought me dandelions and called them flowers. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, Mom? What's going on?" Just hearing his voice made my eyes well up. "Michael, it's Aunt Patricia. The doctor said she has cancer, stage 4. They said we should prepare for..." "Oh, man." Michael let out a long breath. "That's rough, Mom. I'm really sorry. But can we talk about this later? I'm in the middle of something." "I just needed to tell someone. I'm scared, Michael. She's my baby sister, and I get it, I do." His voice was kind but firm. "But Mom, you gotta understand. I've got 3 kids. Sarah just lost her job. I'm working 2 jobs to keep up with the mortgage. And you know what? You call about something being wrong every other week." The words hit me like a slap. "What yo? Last month it was your neighbor's tree falling. The month before that, your furnace acting up. Before that, you thought someone was following you at the grocery store. I love you, but I can't drop everything every time you have a crisis. My chest felt tight. Michael, this isn't about a tree or a furnace. This is about your aunt. She's dying and I need... Then call her doctor's mom. Call hospice. Call anyone else. I'm drowning here and I just can't be your crisis hotline right now. I'm sorry, but you need to handle it yourself. Handle it yourself. Those 3 words hung in the air after he disconnected. I tried Rachel next, my baby 41 years old teaching high school English in Philadelphia. Rachel had always been sensitive, emotional. She'd understand. The phone went straight to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. A 3rd time. Voicemail. I set the phone down on the kitchen table and stared at it. 3 children. 3 calls. Not one of them had 15 minutes to spare for their mother. I got up and walked to the living room, to the wall of family photos I'd carefully arranged over the years. Jennifer's college graduation, Michael's wedding, Rachel's first day of teaching. Summer vacations at the lake house in Vermont, all of us squeezed onto the dock, sun-kissed and smiling. When had it changed? When had I become an inconvenience instead of their mother? I thought about the last 8 years, when Jennifer's marriage had fallen apart, who had driven to Boston every weekend for 3 months to help with her kids, who had taken Isabella and Marcus to the park, cooked dinners, listened to Jennifer cry until 2 in the morning. Me. I'd done that. When Michael lost his job during the recession, who had paid his mortgage for 6 months so his family wouldn't lose their house, who had dipped into her retirement savings money. I'd been carefully putting away since Thomas died. Me. I'd done that. When Rachel had her breakdown during her first year teaching, completely overwhelmed and spiraling into depression, who had taken a leave of absence from work to stay with her, who had sat with her through panic attacks, driven her to therapy appointments, held her hand until she found her footing again. Me. Every single time it was me. But now I was being dramatic. Now I was crying wolf. Now I needed to handle it myself. I sat down on the couch, the one Thomas and I had picked out together 40 years ago, reupholstered 3 times because I couldn't bear to get rid of it, and I cried. Not quiet, dignified tears. Ugly, gasping sobs that shook my whole body. I cried for Patricia for the time we were losing. I cried for myself for the loneliness that had been building for years. But mostly I cried because I finally understood something I'd been avoiding for a long time. I had failed as a mother. Not because I hadn't loved them enough or sacrificed enough. I'd failed because I'd taught them all the wrong lessons. I taught them that love was transactional, that every gift, every sacrifice, every act of service came with an invisible price tag, that my worth as a mother was measured in what I could do for them, not in who I was. And they'd learned the lesson perfectly. Around noon, I finally pulled myself together enough to wash my face and make tea. I was standing at the kitchen counter when my phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. Sorry I missed your calls. Crazy morning. Everything okay? I stared at the message. Everything okay. Like she couldn't take 2 minutes to actually call and ask. I typed back, Aunt Patricia has stage 4 cancer. The 3 typing dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Oh no, that's awful. I'm so sorry, Mom. Sending love. Sending love. Like a greeting card. Like a Facebook post. I set the phone down and didn't respond. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Michael's words. You call about something being wrong every other week. Was that true? Had I really become that person? I got up around 2 a.m. and went to my home office, the small 2nd bedroom where I'd kept all my records since Thomas died. I pulled out my phone log, the detailed call history I kept printed out every month. It was an old habit from my librarian days, keeping records of everything. I went through the last 6 months of calls with my children. January 15th, called Jennifer about the furnace making strange noises. She'd said, Mom, just call a repairman, and hung up after 2 minutes. January 28th, called Michael because I'd slipped on ice and thought I might have sprained my wrist. He'd said, put ice on it. I gotta run. February 3rd, called Rachel because I was feeling lonely on what would have been Thomas's 75th birthday. She hadn't answered. February 19th, called all 3 about the neighbor's tree that had fallen in a storm, barely missing my house. Jennifer had sent money to handle it. Michael had said, glad you're okay, but I'm in meetings all day. Rachel had texted, that sounds scary. Maybe time to think about moving to a condo key. March 2nd, the furnace again. I'd been genuinely worried about carbon monoxide. Michael was right. From their perspective, it probably did look like I was always calling with problems. But sitting there in my office at 2 in the morning, I understood something else. I wasn't calling because I couldn't handle things. I was calling because I was lonely. Because I wanted to hear their voices, to feel like I mattered to someone. The furnace calls the tree the worry about being followed. These were excuses. Excuses to reach out. Excuses to stay connected to the 3 people I loved most in the world. And they'd all learned to see me as a burden. I put the phone logs away and pulled out another folder. This one was labeled Lake House, Vermont. Thomas and I had bought the property 40 years ago, right after we got married. A small cabin on Lake Morrison in Vermont, 2 hours from Hartford. We'd saved for 3 years to afford it. Over the decades, we'd expanded it. It added bedrooms as the kids came, built the deck, renovated the kitchen. Some of my happiest memories were at that lake house. Teaching the kids to swim. Long summer evenings with Thomas sitting on the dock watching the sunset. Family cookouts where everyone laughed until their stomachs hurt. The lake house was supposed to be my legacy. The place where my grandchildren would make memories, where the family would gather for generations. I'd always planned to leave it to all 3 kids jointly. It seemed fair. But sitting there in the dark, looking at old photos of happy summers, I started to wonder, did they even remember those times? Did they care about the lake house for the memories, or just for the property value? I closed the folder and went back to bed. But I didn't sleep. The next morning I drove to Boston General Hospital, where Patricia had been admitted for tests. The 2-hour drive gave me time to think, and I spent most of it crying. Patricia looked so small in the hospital bed. She'd lost weight already, her skin pale against the white sheets. But when she saw me, she smiled. "There's my big sister," she said, reaching for my hand. I pulled a chair close and held her hand between both of mine. "How are you feeling?" Like death warmed over. She laughed weakly at her own joke. "Too soon, way too soon." We sat in comfortable silence for a while. We'd always been able to do that, Patricia and me. Just be together without needing to fill the space with words. Finally, Patricia said, "Did you tell the kids?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. And they were busy." Patricia's face hardened. "All 3 of them. Jennifer had an important meeting. Michael's overwhelmed with his family. Rachel couldn't handle it." "Barb," Patricia squeezed my hand. "When are you going to stop making excuses for them? They're my children. They're adults who should know how to show up for their mother when she needs them." I looked away out the window where rain was starting to fall. "I think I've made some mistakes with them. We all make mistakes with our kids. But that doesn't give them permission to treat you like you don't matter." A nurse came in to check Patricia's vitals, and we had to pause the conversation. After the nurse left, Patricia shifted in the bed, wincing slightly. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "Of course." "I'm scared, Barb. Not of dying exactly, but of leaving Emma alone. Of not being there to see Lily grow up. Emma was her daughter, 42, and recently divorced, raising an 8-year-old on her own. Emma's strong. You raised her right. I made different choices than you did." Patricia's voice was soft. "After the divorce, I told Emma the truth, that her father was an alcoholic, that the marriage was toxic, that love shouldn't hurt. I didn't try to protect her from reality. I felt the criticism like a gentle nudge. Are you saying I protected my kids too much? I'm saying you loved them so much that you let them avoid consequences. Every time one of them screwed up, you fixed it. Every time they needed something, you gave it even when you couldn't afford it. You taught them that there would always be a safety net. I was trying to be a good mother. You were a great mother. But Barb, you forgot to teach them how to be good children. How to give, not just take. How to show up, not just when it's convenient." I knew she was right. I'd known it for years, but hadn't wanted to admit it. "Emma comes to see me every day," Patricia continued. "She brings Lily after school. They read to me, tell me about their days. Emma's struggling financially, working 2 jobs, barely keeping her head above water. But she's here. I know. Your kids are comfortable, successful, and they can't spare 15 minutes for a phone call." We sat with that truth between us. Finally, I said, "What do I do? You decide what you want the rest of your life to look like, and then you make it happen. You're 72, not 92. You could have 20 more years ahead of you. Do you want to spend them begging for scraps of attention from people who don't value you? They're my children, Patricia. I can't just stop loving them." I'm not asking you to stop loving them. I'm asking you to start loving yourself, to set boundaries, to stop accepting behavior you wouldn't tolerate from anyone else just because they share your DNA. She closed her eyes, suddenly tired. Promise me something, Barb. Promise me you won't let them treat you the way I let David treat me for 20 years. David, her ex-husband. He'd controlled everything, her money, her friendships, her self-worth. By the time she'd finally left him, she'd been a shell of herself. I promise, I whispered. But I wasn't sure I knew how to keep that promise. Over the next few weeks, I spent every day at the hospital with Patricia. Emma was there too, working her schedule around hospital visits, bringing Lily when she could. Emma and I had always been close, but during those weeks we bonded in a way we never had before. She was 37, exhausted from juggling 2 jobs and single parenthood, but she showed up, every single day. One afternoon, while Patricia was sleeping and Lily was doing homework in the corner of the room, Emma and I went to the cafeteria for coffee. "How are you holding up?" I asked her. Emma stirred sugar into her coffee slowly, considering the question. "I'm terrified. Mom is my best friend. I don't know how to do life without her. She's so proud of you, you know. She talks about you all the time. I'm a divorced single mom working as a waitress and a dog walker. Not exactly the success story she probably hoped for. You're raising a beautiful, smart daughter. You show up for the people you love. You're exactly the success story she hoped for." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Aunt Barb, can I ask you something? Anything. Where are your kids? I don't mean to pry, but Mom's been here for 3 weeks and I haven't seen them once." I felt the shame burn in my chest. "They're busy. Too busy to visit their aunt who's dying, too busy to support their mother." I didn't have an answer. Emma reached across the table and took my hand. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. It's not my place." "No, you're right to ask. The truth is, I don't know where they are. Physically, I mean, I know. Jennifer's in Boston, Michael's in New Jersey, Rachel's in Philadelphia. But emotionally, I lost them somewhere along the way." "What happened?" I thought about how to explain it. I think I loved them too much. Or maybe the wrong way. I gave them everything I had, and somehow that taught them I wasn't worth giving anything back to. "That's not your fault." "Isn't it? I'm their mother. I was supposed to teach them how to be good people. You can't make people be what they're not, Aunt Barb. Trust me, I tried for 8 years with my ex." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Emma said, "Mom told me to tell you something. She made me promise." "What date?" "She said to tell you that you have to decide what kind of old woman you want to be. The kind who accepts being ignored and dismissed, or the kind who demands respect." That sounds like Patricia. "She also said you should talk to a lawyer about your will." I looked up sharply. She said you needed to protect yourself, that your kids see you as an ATM, not a person, and you need to make sure they understand the difference. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger exactly, more like clarity. "Thank you for telling me," I said. That night, driving home from the hospital, I thought about Patricia's message. About the look on Emma's face when she'd asked where my children were. I thought about the phone calls, the excuses, the pattern of behavior I'd been ignoring for years. And I thought about the lake house sitting empty in Vermont, waiting for summer guests who never came anymore. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I'd made a decision. Patricia died on a Sunday morning in late May. It was peaceful as these things go. Emma and I were both there holding her hands. Lily had said goodbye the night before, curling up on the hospital bed to whisper secrets to her grandmother one last time. "Take care of each other," Patricia whispered to Emma and me in her final lucid moments. "Promise me." We promised. I called my children from the hospital parking lot after Patricia passed. I sat in my car, hands shaking, and forced myself to dial. Jennifer answered. "Mom, is everything okay? Patricia died this morning." Silence. Then, "Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. How are you holding up?" "I'm at the hospital. Emma and I were with her." "That's good. That she wasn't alone. Listen, I'll check my calendar and figure out the funeral arrangements, okay? Just send me the details." "Jennifer, I need you." "I know, Mom, and I'll be there. For the funeral. I promise." She hung up before I could say anything else. Michael cried when I told him. Real tears, I could hear them in his voice. "I should have visited her," he said. I kept meaning to, but work was crazy and the kids had soccer and… I know. Is there anything you need? I need my son. I'll come to the funeral, Mom. I'll drive up with the family. We'll be there for you. Rachel took the longest to answer. When she finally did, she was already crying. I knew this was coming. I couldn't face it. I understand. No, you don't. You're so strong, Mom. You can handle anything. I'm not like you. I can't just compartmentalize and keep going. I'm not strong, Rachel. I'm falling apart. I've been falling apart for weeks. I just didn't have anyone to fall apart with. You had Emma? Yes, I had Emma. The funeral was on a Saturday. Beautiful weather, ironically. Clear blue skies, the kind of perfect May day that Patricia had always loved. The church was packed. Patricia had been a teacher for 30 years and had touched hundreds of lives. Former students came, colleagues, neighbors, friends from her book club and yoga class. My children came too. Jennifer arrived 15 minutes late, slipping into the pew beside me just as the service was starting. She was in head-to-toe black designer clothes, checking her phone even as she sat down. Michael came with Sarah and the kids. The boys, Thomas and Jake, looked uncomfortable in their suits. The youngest, Emma, named after her cousin, was only 6 and kept asking in a loud whisper when they could leave. Rachel came alone. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, her hands shaking slightly. She hugged me before the service started, and I felt how thin she'd gotten. Are you okay? I whispered. Just tired. Work is overwhelming this year. During the service, I kept glancing down the pew at my children. Jennifer was still checking her phone. Michael was trying to manage his restless kids. Rachel was crying, but something about it felt performative, like she was crying because that's what you're supposed to do at funerals. Emma gave the eulogy. She talked about her mother's love of literature, her fierce independence, her laugh that could fill a room. She talked about the lessons Patricia had taught her to stand up for herself, to never settle for less than she deserved, to be brave even when she was scared. My mother taught me that love isn't about grand gestures, Emma said, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. It's about showing up, day after day, being present for the people who matter even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I saw Jennifer shift uncomfortably in her seat. After the service, there was a reception at the church hall. I stood near the door accepting condolences, my face hurting from smiling graciously at people who offered sympathy I wasn't sure I wanted. Jennifer found me during a lull. The service was nice, yes. That eulogy, though. Emma was laying it on a bit thick, don't you think, all that stuff about showing up and being present? I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She was wearing what I knew was a $1,000 dress. Her hair was perfectly styled. Her makeup was flawless, but there was something hard in her eyes, something that hadn't been there when she was young. I thought it was perfect, I said. Well, Jennifer checked her watch. I should probably hit the road soon. I've got an early morning meeting tomorrow. You're leaving today. You just got here. Mom, I came for the funeral. That's what you asked. I asked for you to be here for me, for us to grieve together. We are grieving together. We're literally at a funeral. Jennifer. Mom, I really can't do this right now. I'm here, okay? I showed up. What more do you want? What more did I want? I wanted the daughter who used to crawl into my lap and tell me about her dreams. I wanted the girl who'd cried on my shoulder when her first boyfriend broke her heart. I wanted my child back. But she was gone, and I wasn't sure she was ever coming back. Michael approached as Jennifer walked away. Mom, we need to talk. Okay. Sarah and I have been discussing it, and we think maybe it's time to talk about your living situation. My living situation. The house in Millbrook is getting old. It needs repairs. You're there all alone. What if something happened? We were thinking maybe you should consider downsizing, maybe one of those nice senior living communities. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. I'm 72, Michael, not 92. I'm perfectly capable of living in my own home. I know, but Mom, be practical. That house is worth a lot of money. If you sold it and moved somewhere smaller, you'd have liquid assets. You could help us out. I mean, you'd have security for your future. Help you out. That's not what I meant. Look, we're struggling, okay? Sarah's been out of work for 6 months. The medical bills from her cancer scare last year cleaned us out. We're drowning in debt. And I know you have the lake house too, and that property value has probably stopped. My voice came out sharper than I intended. Stop right there. Mom, your aunt just died. We're at her funeral, and you're talking to me about liquidating my assets. That's not fair. I'm trying to have a practical conversation. About my money. Michael's face flushed. You know what? Forget it. I was trying to help, trying to make sure you're taken care of. But if you want to be difficult about it, fine. He walked away, leaving me standing there with my grief and a new terrible clarity. Rachel was the last to approach me, and when she did, she was crying again. Mom, I'm so sorry. For what? For everything. For not being there when Aunt Patricia was sick. For not calling you back. For being the worst daughter in the world. I softened slightly. At least Rachel seemed genuinely remorseful. You're not the worst daughter. I am. I know I am. It's so hard for me, Mom. Being around death, around grief. My therapist says I have avoidant attachment, and Rachel. I took her hands. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay? Are you okay? Really? Her face crumpled. For a moment I thought she was going to tell me the truth, but then she pulled herself together, wiped her eyes, and said, I'm fine, just overwhelmed with work. You know how it is. She was lying. I could see it in her eyes and the way her hands trembled in the too casual tone of her voice. But she wasn't going to tell me. She didn't trust me enough to be vulnerable. None of them did. After everyone had left, Emma and I stayed behind to clean up the church hall. Lily was asleep in one of the pew benches, exhausted from the emotion of the day. Your cousins didn't stay to help, Emma observed as we folded chairs. No. I'm sorry if this is out of line, but they're kind of awful. I laughed, surprising myself. I know. Does it bother you that I'm saying that? It should. They're my children. But Emma, I'm tired. I'm tired of making excuses for them. I'm tired of pretending that their behavior is normal or acceptable. Emma set down a stack of chairs and looked at me. Aunt Barb, Mom made me promise to tell you something else. What, She said to tell you that the worst thing you can do to people you love is let them get away with treating you badly. She said it doesn't help them, and it certainly doesn't help you. She was right. So what are you going to do? I thought about the look on Jennifer's face when I'd challenged her, about Michael's transparent request for money, about Rachel's lies. I'm going to do what your mother told me to do, I said. I'm going to protect myself. The Monday after Patricia's funeral, I called David Morrison. David had been Thomas's best friend, a lawyer who'd helped me navigate the legal complexities after my husband's death. He was 75 now, semi-retired, but he'd told me to call if I ever needed anything. Barbara, he said warmly when he answered, how are you holding up after Saturday? I need to talk to you about my will. Your will, is everything all right? I don't know. Maybe. Can we meet this week? Of course. How about Wednesday morning? Come to the office around 10. I hung up and sat for a long time at my kitchen table, staring at nothing. Was I really going to do this? Was I really going to change my will, cut out my own children? No, not cut them out. Just recalibrate. Make sure they understood that I was a person, not just a source of future inheritance. But first I needed to give them one more chance. One last opportunity to show me that the relationship mattered to them. I made a decision and picked up my phone. I created a new group text with all 3 kids. I'm organizing a family dinner at the lake house this Saturday. I need to talk to you all about something important. Please plan to be there by 2 p.m. Love, Mom. The responses came quickly. Jennifer, this weekend is tough. Can we do it next month? Michael, what's this about? Can we just talk on the phone? Rachel, I'll try. No promises. I stared at their responses and felt something harden in my chest. I typed back, it's important. I need you there. Please. Eventually, they all grudgingly agreed. Saturday came with perfect weather. I drove up to the lake house Friday afternoon to prepare. The place looked tired, paint peeling on the shutters, the deck needing repairs, the dock showing its age. Thomas and I had spent so much time maintaining it, but I couldn't keep up on my own. Still, I cleaned and cooked. I made all their favorite foods. Jennifer's lasagna, made with Thomas's mother's recipe. Michael's pot roast. Rachel's favorite chocolate cake. I told myself I was making an effort, but really I was trying to buy their affection one last time with food and nostalgia. Old habits. They started arriving around 2. Jennifer first in a BMW that probably cost more than my annual pension. She was on her phone when she got out of the car and stayed on it as she walked up to the porch. "Yeah, I'm here now," she was saying. "No, I told you push the meeting to Monday. I'll be back by then. No, it's family stuff. My mom is being dramatic about something." She hung up and hugged me briefly. "Hey, Mom. The place looks the same. I made your favorite lasagna." "Oh, I'm actually doing keto now, but thanks." Michael arrived next with Sarah and the kids. The boys immediately ran to the dock, and I heard Sarah yell after them about life jackets. Michael hauled in a laptop bag and what looked like work files. "Sorry, Mom," he said. "I've got a product launch Monday. I'm going to need to do some work while I'm here." I was hoping we could just focus on family time. I am focusing on family. I'm here, aren't I? But I can't completely disconnect from work. Rachel was last arriving almost an hour late. She looked terrible, pale, shaky, dark circles under her eyes, but she hugged me tight and whispered, "I'm sorry I'm late." We gathered around the dining table, the one Thomas had built by hand 30 years ago. The kids ate. Jennifer picked at a salad she'd brought herself. Michael ate while typing on his laptop. Rachel pushed food around her plate. The grandchildren were loud, running in and out, tracking dirt on the floors. Sarah was on her phone. Jennifer kept checking her watch. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Can everyone please put down their phones and look at me?" They did reluctantly. Even the grandchildren settled down, sensing the tension. "I asked you here because I need to talk to you about something important." My voice shook, but I pushed forward. "These past few months watching Patricia die, I've been doing a lot of thinking about my life, about our relationships." "Mom," Jennifer said, her voice already edged with impatience. "If this is about us not visiting more, we've talked about this. We're busy. Let me finish." I took a breath. "I feel like I'm losing you. All three of you. I feel like the only time you pay attention to me is when you need something." "That's not true," Michael protested. "We love you." "Do you?" "Because love isn't just a word, Michael. It's action. It's showing up. It's being present." "We are present," Jennifer said. "We're literally here right now. After I begged you to come. After I made it clear it was important." "What do you want from us?" Rachel asked, and there was real anguish in her voice. "We have our own lives, our own problems. We can't drop everything every time you want attention." The words hung in the air like a slap. "Attention," I repeated softly. "Is that what you think this is, me wanting attention?" "Well, what else is it?" Jennifer leaned forward. "Mom, you're not sick. You're not in danger. You're just lonely. And I get that, I do. But we can't fix your loneliness. That's not our job." "Your job." I felt tears building but refused to let them fall. "When did being my children become a job?" "You know what I mean." "Michael, do you feel this way too?" Michael looked uncomfortable. "Mom, you have to understand. We're adults now. We have our own families, our own responsibilities. You raised us to be independent. You can't be upset that we are." "I'm not upset that you're independent. I'm devastated that you're indifferent." "That's not fair," Rachel said, tears streaming down her face. "We're not indifferent. We're struggling too, okay? You're not the only one with problems." "Then tell me about them. Talk to me. Let me be your mother in a way that's real, not just someone you call when you need money or help." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Jennifer said, "Is this what this is about? You want us to be more emotionally available? Mom, we're doing our best." "Are you?" I looked at each of them. "Jennifer, when's the last time you called me just to talk? Not because you needed something, not because it was my birthday, just to check in." Jennifer's face flushed. "I don't know. I'm busy." "Michael, when's the last time you came to visit without immediately starting a conversation about my finances or suggesting I downsize?" Michael looked away. "We worry about you." "Rachel, when's the last time you were honest with me about what's really going on in your life?" Rachel's face crumpled. I can't talk about it." "Why not?" "Because you'll make it about you. Because every time I try to tell you I'm struggling, you make it about how you're suffering. Because I'm suffering. Because I can't be vulnerable with you without feeling guilty." The truth of her words hit me like a physical blow. "Oh my God," I whispered. "Is that how you all feel?" The silence was my answer. I stood up from the table, my legs shaking. "I need a minute." I walked out onto the deck, gulping air, trying not to collapse under the weight of what I'd just learned. They were right, at least partially. I had made their problems about me. I had created a dynamic where they couldn't be honest without feeling like they were burdening me, and in doing so I'd driven them away. But that didn't excuse their behavior. Their casual cruelty, their dismissiveness, their reduction of me to a source of guilt and future inheritance. Sarah joined me on the deck. She'd been quiet during the whole exchange. "Barbara," she said gently, "can I say something, please? You're right that they should treat you better. But Rachel has a point too. The dynamic you've created, it's toxic for everyone." "I know. What are you going to do about it?" I looked out at the lake, at the water Thomas and I had loved so much. "I don't know." Sarah put a hand on my shoulder. "For what it's worth, I think you deserve better. And I think they need to learn that." Back inside, I could hear my children talking in low voices. I caught fragments. "Being so dramatic. Knew this would happen? Just needs attention." I walked back in and they fell silent. "I think you should all leave," I said quietly. "What?" Jennifer stood up. "Mom, we just got here. I asked you here because I wanted to reconnect, to try to rebuild what we've lost, but I can see now that you don't want that. Or maybe you're not capable of it. Either way, I think it's better if you go." "You're being ridiculous," Jennifer said. "Maybe, but this is my house and I'm asking you to leave." Michael stood slowly. "Mom, let's not do this. Let's just—" "Michael," I looked at my son. "Do you want to be here?" He hesitated. "I want to fix this." "That's not what I asked. Do you want to be here right now with me? Or would you rather be home working on your product launch?" The pause before he answered told me everything. "Get out," I said softly. "All of you." They tried to protest, but I was done. I walked to the front door and opened it, standing there while they gathered their things and their children. Jennifer stopped in front of me. "You're going to regret this." "Maybe, but right now I regret trying so hard for people who don't try back." After they left, I stood in the middle of the empty lake house and cried. Not gentle tears, gut-wrenching sobs that shook my whole body. But underneath the grief, there was something else. Relief, and a cold, hard determination. I picked up my phone and called David Morrison. "David, I need to move up our appointment. Can you meet me tomorrow?" "Of course. Is everything all right?" "No, but it will be." Sunday morning, I met David Morrison at his office. It was a small practice in downtown Millbrook, the kind of place where the receptionist knew everyone's name and kept candy in a dish on her desk. David was waiting for me in his office, a room lined with law books and family photos. He'd known Thomas since college. He'd been the best man at our wedding. "Barbara," he stood and hugged me. "Sit down. Tell me what's going on." I sat in the leather chair across from his desk and found I didn't know where to start. "Take your time," he said gently. So I told him everything. About Patricia's diagnosis and death. About the phone calls my children didn't answer. About the funeral where they showed up late and left early. About yesterday's disaster at the lake house. When I finished, David was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want to do?" he finally asked. "I want to change my will." "Are you sure estate decisions made in grief can sometimes—" "I'm not grieving David. Or rather I am, but not just for Patricia. I'm grieving for the relationship I thought I had with my children. The relationship that never actually existed." He pulled out a legal pad. "All right, let's talk about your current will. Everything's split 3 ways. The lake house goes to all 3 of them jointly. My savings retirement accounts the house in Millbrook, all divided equally. And you want to change that how?" I took a breath. "I want the lake house to go to Emma, Patricia's daughter." David's pen paused. "Your niece?" "Yes. She loved that place growing up. She and Patricia spent every summer there with us. And more importantly, she's shown me more care in the past 3 months than my own children have in 3 years." "What about your children's inheritance?" This was the hard part. "I want to set up charitable trusts, the library system where I worked, the Cancer Research Foundation treating Patricia, scholarships for single mothers. And your children receive enough that they can't claim I forgot them, $5,000 each, and one of Thomas's possessions that meant something to them." David set down his pen. "Barbara, I have to ask this. Are you doing this to punish them or to protect yourself?" The question hit harder than I expected. I thought about it for a long moment. "Both," I admitted. But mostly I'm doing it because they've shown me who they are, and I believe them. They could challenge this. I know. That's why I need your help to make sure they can't win. David nodded slowly. We'll need documentation, a cognitive assessment to prove you're of sound mind, video testimony explaining your reasoning, and we should document their behavior texts, voicemails, anything that shows a pattern. I have phone logs going back years. I have the text messages from yesterday. I can get the documentation. Barbara, David leaned forward. Once we do this, there's no going back. Even if you change your mind later, this will damage your relationship with your children. The relationship is already damaged, David. They just don't know it yet. Over the next 3 weeks, I worked with David to build an ironclad will. The cognitive assessment was done by Dr. Helen Park, a neuropsychologist David had worked with before. She put me through a battery of tests, memory reasoning, problem solving. I scored in the 95th percentile for my age group. Mrs. Anderson, Dr. Park said at the end of our session, you're sharper than most people half your age. Anyone who tries to claim cognitive decline will have a very hard time with my report. The video testimony was harder. David set up a camera in his office and I had to explain my decisions on record. It took 3 attempts. The first 2 times I broke down crying. On the 3rd try, I made it through. My name is Barbara Jean Anderson, I said to the camera. I'm 72 years old and I'm of sound mind and body. I'm making these changes to my will of my own free choice without coercion or manipulation from anyone. I want to be clear about why I'm doing this. It's not because I don't love my children. I will always love them. But love can't be a one-way street. For years, I've given everything I have, my time, my money, my emotional energy, and received very little in return. When my sister was dying, they couldn't spare 15 minutes to let me share my grief. When I begged them to come to a family dinner, they came reluctantly and left angry. They've made it clear that I'm valuable to them as a source of future inheritance, but not as a mother who needs support. The lake house is going to my niece Emma because she embodies the values I tried to teach my own children. She shows up. She cares. She gives without expecting anything in return. My children will each receive $5,000 and a memento of their father. This is not a small amount. It's a deliberate choice made to show that I haven't forgotten them, but that I won't be taken for granted anymore. I hope someday they understand that this decision comes from love. Love for myself, which I should have practiced years ago. When David turned off the camera, I felt lighter than I had in months. That was perfect, he said. When can we file it? Give me a week to finalize everything. In the meantime, don't tell anyone about this. Not Emma, not your children, no one. I won't. But keeping the secret was harder. June arrived with perfect weather, the kind of clear, bright days that made Connecticut beautiful. My phone started buzzing with a group text from my children. Jennifer had created it and named it Lake House Planning. Jennifer: Hey everyone, been thinking about the Vermont property. Those appliances are from the 90s. Should probably update the kitchen first. Michael: Agreed. The deck needs work too. Those boards are rotting. Rachel: Can we talk about the master bedroom? That wallpaper is hideous. I stared at my phone in disbelief. They were planning renovations on a house they didn't own. Jennifer: Mom, what's the process for transferring the property? Do we need to involve lawyers or can we handle it at the county office? I didn't respond. Michael: Mom, you there? Jennifer: She's probably just not seeing these. Mom's not great with group texts. Rachel: Should we just call her? None of them did. The messages kept coming over the next few days. Pinterest boards from Jennifer with lake house inspiration. Contractor estimates from Michael. Paint samples from Rachel. They were treating my property like it was already theirs. One evening, my phone rang. Emma: Aunt Barb, can I come over? I need to talk to you about something. Of course, honey. Is everything okay? I'll tell you when I get there. Emma arrived 30 minutes later with Lily. The little girl ran to hug me while Emma looked stressed. What's wrong? I asked, leading them into the kitchen. Emma pulled out her phone and showed me a text conversation. It was from Jennifer. Jennifer: Hey, Em. Hope you're doing okay after losing your mom. Listen, I wanted to give you a heads up. We're planning some updates to the lake house. Just so you know, family trips there might be on hold for a while during renovations. Emma: Oh, I didn't know you all were planning renovations. I thought Aunt Barb owned the house. Jennifer: She does, but she's getting older. We're starting to take over management of the family properties. Don't worry, once we're done with updates, you and Lily are always welcome to visit. I felt my blood pressure rise. She's acting like she owns it, Emma said quietly. And the way she phrased it, you're always welcome to visit, like she's doing me a favor. What did you say back? Nothing yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Emma looked at me carefully. Aunt Barb, what's going on? I made a decision. Can Lily play in the living room for a minute? Sure, baby, Emma said to her daughter. Go watch TV. We'll be right here. Once Lily was settled in front of cartoons, I told Emma everything. About the new will, about giving her the lake house, about my children's behavior. Emma's face went pale. Aunt Barb, I can't accept that. Why not? Because it'll destroy your relationship with your kids. They'll hate me. They'll think I manipulated you. Emma, they already barely tolerate you. And I don't care what they think. That house should go to someone who loves it for what it is, not for its property value. No buts. The decision is made, the will is filed. But Emma, you can't tell anyone. Not yet. Not until it's time. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept it. Say you'll keep making memories there with Lily. That's all I want. She hugged me tightly. Thank you. You have no idea what this means. After Emma left, I looked at the group text again. New messages had appeared. Michael. So Mom, Sarah, and I were talking. With the lake house getting updated, maybe it makes sense to talk about your house too. Jennifer. Good point. Mom, have you thought about downsizing? That place is huge for one person. Rachel. There are some really nice senior living communities in the area. I saw this one with a pool and everything. Senior living. I was 72, healthy and active, and they wanted me in a senior living community. I finally typed a response. Barbara. The lake house is not being renovated. It's my property and I haven't authorized any changes. Please stop making plans for things that don't belong to you. The group chat went silent for a full 10 minutes. Then Jennifer called. Mom, what's with the hostile text? Hostile, you're planning renovations on my property without asking me. We were just talking about ideas. We weren't actually going to do anything without your permission. It didn't sound that way. Well, that's how it was meant. God, Mom, you're being so sensitive lately. Jennifer, why are you so interested in the lake house all of a sudden? You haven't been there in 3 years. That's not true. We were just there last weekend. She stopped. For the dinner where I asked you to leave. Silence. Look, Mom, I'm just trying to be helpful. That property is valuable. It needs maintenance. I'm just thinking ahead. Thinking ahead to what? To when you're gone. To making sure everything's taken care of. I'm not gone, Jennifer. I'm sitting right here very much alive. I know that. Jesus, why are you making this into such a thing? Why are you treating my death like a business opportunity? That's not what I'm doing. But it was exactly what she was doing. We both knew it. I hung up. July came with a heat wave. The kind of oppressive, humid heat that made even breathing feel like work. I was carrying laundry down to the basement when it happened. One moment I was on the stairs, the next I was falling, tumbling my arm, hitting the concrete floor hard. The pain was immediate and intense. I lay there for a moment, stunned, before I realized I couldn't move my left wrist without agony shooting up my arm. I managed to pull myself up with my right hand and made it to my phone. I should have called 911. Instead, I called Jennifer. No answer. I called Michael. Mom, I'm in the middle of something. Can I call you back? I fell down the basement stairs. I think I broke my wrist. Oh, shit. Okay, can you drive yourself to the hospital? Michael, I can barely move. Right, okay, call 911. I'll try to get there as soon as I can. He hung up. I called Rachel. Voicemail. I sat on the basement floor, cradling my injured wrist, and started to laugh. It wasn't funny, but I couldn't stop laughing. Finally, I called Emma. She answered on the first ring. Aunt Barb, hi. Emma, I had a fall. I think I broke my wrist. I don't want to bother you, but I'm on my way. Don't move. I'm calling 911 right now. Emma got to my house before the ambulance. She must have driven 90 miles an hour from Boston. She found me still in the basement, and I watched her face go white. Oh my God, Aunt Barb. She knelt beside me carefully. The ambulance is coming. Just hold on. I'm fine. It's just my wrist. You're not fine. You're sitting on a concrete floor and you're pale as a ghost. The ambulance arrived. The EMTs were kind professional. They stabilized my wrist and loaded me onto a stretcher. "Is there someone who can meet you at the hospital?" one of them asked. "I'm coming," Emma said immediately. At the hospital, X-rays confirmed what I'd suspected. Fractured wrist clean break. They put me in a cast and gave me pain medication. Emma stayed the entire time. She held my good hand during the X-rays. She argued with the insurance company about coverage. She filled my prescriptions and drove me home. "Where are your kids?" she finally asked as she helped me into bed. "Busy. Aunt Barb?" "Michael said he'd try to come. Jennifer and Rachel haven't called back yet." Emma's face hardened. "They know you're in the hospital." "I assume Michael told them." She pulled out her phone and stepped into the hallway. I could hear her talking, her voice angry but controlled. When she came back, she said Michael didn't tell them. He forgot. "It's fine." "It's not fine," Emma's voice cracked. "You could have been seriously hurt. You were lying on that basement floor for who knows how long, and your own children. Emma, please, I'm too tired to be angry right now." She took a breath, visibly calming herself. "Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm staying tonight. Don't even try to argue." I didn't have the energy to argue. Emma slept on my couch. I heard her checking on me every few hours, making sure I was okay. The next morning, Jennifer finally called. "Mom, Michael just told me you were in the hospital. Why didn't you call me?" "I did call you. You didn't answer." "Well, you should have left a message." Jennifer: "How bad is it? Do you need me to come?" I looked at Emma, who was making me breakfast in my kitchen. Emma, who had dropped everything to be here. Emma, who had stayed all night. "No," I said. "I'm fine. Emma's here." "Oh, well, good. I'm glad Emma could help. I've got this huge presentation today, but I can probably come this weekend if you need me." "Don't bother." "Mom, don't be like that. I would have come if I'd known it was serious." "How serious does it need to be, Jennifer? What though? How serious does something need to be before you actually show up?" Silence. "You know what?" Jennifer said finally. "I was going to take time out of my day to come check on you, but if you're going to be ungrateful about it, forget it." She hung up. Michael came that afternoon. He brought flowers and looked genuinely worried. "Mom, I'm so sorry I forgot to tell the girls. I got caught up with work and—" "It's fine, Michael." "It's not fine. You could have been really hurt." He sat down heavily in the armchair. "Sarah's upset with me. She says I'm a terrible son." "You're not a terrible son." "I feel like one." He looked at me and I saw real pain in his eyes. When did I become this person? When did I start treating my own mother like she's an inconvenience? It was the first honest thing he'd said to me in years. "I don't know," I said quietly. "But Michael, I enabled it. I let you treat me this way because I was afraid of losing you. I'm as much to blame as you are." "No, that's not—" "It is. I taught you that I would always be there no matter what. That you could take and take and take and I would never stop giving. That's not love. That's enabling." Michael was quiet for a long time. "What do we do now?" he finally asked. "I don't know, but something has to change." He left an hour later. I could see the wheels turning in his head, but I didn't know if anything would actually change. Rachel came the next day. She brought soup and wine and sat on the edge of my bed, crying. "I'm the worst daughter in the world," she sobbed. "Rachel, no, I am. You were hurt and I didn't even know. I didn't even check my phone because I've been so wrapped up in my own problems." "What problems?" She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "I can't talk about it." "Why not?" "Because if I tell you, you'll want to fix it. And you can't fix it. No one can fix it." "Try me." Rachel shook her head. "I can't. I can't." She stayed for 30 minutes, crying intermittently, then left saying she had to get back to Philadelphia for work. After she left, Emma came back. She'd gone home to get Lily from a neighbor and brought the little girl with her. "Grandma Barb," Lily ran to the bed, carefully mindful of my cast. "Mama said you got hurt." "Just a little hurt. I'm okay now." "I made you a picture." She held up a drawing of a house by a lake. "It's our special house." Our special house. The lake house that would someday be hers. I pulled Lily into a gentle hug and looked at Emma over the little girl's head. "Thank you," I mouthed. Emma just nodded. A week after the fall, I was sitting in my living room when David Morrison called. "Barbara, I need to tell you something." "What's wrong?" I got a call from an attorney representing your daughter Jennifer. They were asking about your competency, whether you'd had any cognitive assessments recently, whether you'd made any changes to your estate planning. My blood went cold. What did you tell them? Nothing. Attorney-client privilege. But Barbara, they're building a case. They're going to try to have you declared incompetent. Can they do that? They can try. With our documentation, they won't succeed. But it tells you what they're thinking. After I hung up, I sat in shock. My own children were trying to have me declared incompetent so they could control my assets. I called Emma. I need your help with something, I said, and it's going to sound crazy. What is it? I need to know what my children are really doing, what their financial situations actually are, because I think they're more desperate than I realized. Emma was quiet for a moment. You want to investigate them. I want to understand them. I want to know if they're doing this out of greed or out of genuine need. Okay, I know someone, a friend from college who does financial investigations. Let me make a call. 3 days later, I met with a woman named Patricia, not my sister Patricia, but a PI who specialized in financial cases. She was 50-ish professional and direct. Mrs. Anderson, I need to be clear about something. If I find information, you might not like what I discover. I understand. And this is expensive. I have the money. Over the next 2 weeks, Patricia dug into my children's lives. What she found broke my heart. Jennifer wasn't just struggling, she was drowning. Her divorce settlement had been far worse than she'd let on. Her ex-husband's lawyer had discovered some financial irregularities in her accounts, and she'd been forced to settle for almost nothing. Her company had cut bonuses for the 3rd year in a row. She'd taken out a second mortgage on her condo to pay for her kids' private school. She was $200,000 in debt. Michael's situation was almost as bad. Sarah's cancer scare the previous year hadn't been a scare, it had been real. Stage 1 breast cancer caught early, but the treatment had cost them everything. Even with insurance, the medical bills had been crushing. They'd drained their savings, maxed out credit cards, and were now behind on their mortgage. They were facing foreclosure. Rachel's situation was the worst. She'd been hospitalized twice for psychiatric emergencies. Not just anxiety full breakdowns. She was on multiple medications, seeing 3 different specialists, and her insurance didn't cover half of it. She had $75,000 in medical debt. And she was still teaching, barely holding it together. I sat in my kitchen reading Patricia's report and cried. They weren't just greedy, they were desperate. And they'd been too proud or too afraid to tell me. I picked up the phone and called Jennifer. Mom, is everything okay? Jennifer, I know about the debt. Silence. I know about the divorce settlement, the second mortgage, the credit cards. How? Her voice was barely a whisper. It doesn't matter how. Jennifer, why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want you to know I failed. Failed at what? At everything. My marriage, my job, my life. You sacrificed so much to give me opportunities, and I screwed it all up. So you were going to steal from me instead of asking for help. I wasn't going to steal, I just thought, if I could get power of attorney, I could manage things better. Make sure the assets were protected. And yes, maybe borrow against them to get back on my feet. But I was going to pay it back. By having me declared incompetent. Another long silence. That wasn't my idea. My lawyer suggested it. He said it was the only way to get control before you did something rash. Something rash like what? I don't know. But Mom, you've been acting weird since Aunt Patricia died, making dramatic statements pushing us away. We're worried about you. You're not worried about me. You're worried about losing your inheritance. That's not fair. Isn't it? Jennifer started crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just so scared. I'm going to lose everything. The condo, my kids' school, everything I've worked for. My heart broke for her. But it didn't change what she'd done. Jennifer, if you just asked me, I couldn't. Don't you see I couldn't come to you like a failure asking for a handout? I'm supposed to be the successful one. You're supposed to be my daughter. I called Michael next. Mom, I know about Sarah's cancer. I know about the medical bills and the foreclosure. He let out a long, shaky breath. Hell none. Why didn't you tell me she was sick? Because you would have insisted on helping. You would have drained your retirement to pay our bills. And I couldn't let you do that. So instead you were going to manipulate me into signing over power of attorney. I wasn't. He stopped. Okay, yes, that was the plan. But Mom, we're losing the house. The bank sent a notice. We have 60 days before they foreclose. My kids are going to be homeless. And you thought the solution was to take control of my assets. I thought the solution was to access my inheritance early. The lake house alone is worth $500,000. If we sold it, split it 3 ways. The lake house isn't yours to sell, Michael. Not yet, but someday it will be. And we need that money now, not in 20 years when you finally die. The words hung in the air like poison. When I finally die, I repeated. God, Mom, that came out wrong. I didn't mean, yes, you did. You're waiting for me to die so you can cash in. That's not I love you, Mom. Do you? Because this doesn't feel like love. I hung up before he could respond. Rachel, I called last. Mom, I'm in a session with a student. Can I call you back? Rachel, I know you've been hospitalized. I know about the psychiatric care and the medication and the debt. A long pause. Then, I have to call you back. She did an hour later. When she spoke, her voice was flat emotionless. So you hired someone to spy on us. That's a new low. Rachel, do you know how humiliating this is, having my mother investigate me like I'm a criminal? I needed to understand what was really going on. You want to know what's going on? I'm falling apart, Mom. I've been falling apart for 2 years. I can barely get through a day without having a panic attack. I'm on 3 different medications that cost $400 a month that insurance won't cover. I've been hospitalized twice because I was a danger to myself. Oh, Rachel. And you know what the worst part is I couldn't tell you. Because every time I tried, you made it about you. About how much it hurt you to see me suffering. About how you wished you could fix it. And I couldn't handle carrying your pain on top of my own. I'm sorry. Are you? Because it doesn't feel like you're sorry. It feels like you're looking for ammunition. Ammunition for what? For whatever you're planning. Jennifer told me about the attorney calls. Michael said you've been weird about the lake house. We're not stupid, Mom. We know something's going on. What if there is? Then you're proving us right. You're proving that we can't trust you. That you'll use our vulnerabilities against us. Rachel, I hired the investigator because I needed to know if you were coming after my assets out of greed or out of genuine need. Now I know you're desperate, all 3 of you. And instead of coming to me, instead of being honest, you tried to manipulate me. Because we knew you'd say no. You didn't even try, Rachel laughed bitterly. Of course we didn't try. Because asking you for help means owing you forever. It means listening to you bring it up every time we disappoint you. It means guilt and obligation and never being good enough. Is that really what you think? It's what I know, Mom. It's how it's always been. She hung up. I sat in my kitchen surrounded by the evidence of my children's desperation and understood something terrible. They were right. Not about everything, but about enough. I had used money as control. I had made gifts into debts. I had created a dynamic where they couldn't ask for help without feeling like failures. But that didn't excuse what they'd done. It didn't make it okay. It just made everything more tragic. October arrived with cold rain and falling leaves. I was in my living room reading when I heard cars pull into my driveway. Multiple cars. I looked out the window and felt my stomach drop. All 3 of my children's vehicles. They'd come together. I opened the door before they could knock. Jennifer stood at the front, perfectly dressed as always, but her eyes were hard. Michael was behind her, looking uncomfortable. Rachel brought up the rear, pale and shaking. We need to talk, Mom, Jennifer said. About what? Can we come in? I stepped aside. They filed in and I noticed they were all carrying folders. What's this about I asked, though I already knew. Jennifer pulled papers from her folder. These are power of attorney documents. We've had them drawn up by an attorney. They'll allow us to help manage your finances and property for your protection. For my protection. Mom, you're 72. You're living alone in this big house. You had a fall. We're worried about you. You're worried about your inheritance. Michael flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? Let's be honest about what this is. You want control of my assets while I'm still alive. We want to help you, Jennifer said firmly. And yes, we want to start planning for the future. That's not unreasonable. The future where I'm dead. Mom, stop being dramatic, Rachel said, but her voice shook. I looked at each of them. Did you know I hired an investigator? They froze. I know about all of it. Jennifer's debt, Michael's foreclosure, Rachel's hospitalizations. I know you're desperate, and I'm sorry, truly sorry that you're all struggling. But this, I gestured at the papers, this isn't the answer. Then what is? Jennifer's voice rose. We're drowning Mom, all three of us, and you're sitting on assets worth over $1 million doing nothing with them. They're my assets. For now, the words were out of Jennifer's mouth before she could stop them. The silence that followed was deafening. Get out, I said quietly. Mom, Michael started. I said get out. If you don't sign these, Jennifer said, pulling out another document, we're prepared to file a petition with the court. We have a letter from a doctor stating that you're showing signs of cognitive decline. What doctor? I haven't seen a doctor. Dr. Richard Chen. He's reviewed your medical history and agrees that your behavior over the past 6 months, the paranoia, the erratic decision-making, the pushing family away indicates possible dementia. I felt the rage building. You bribed a doctor to lie about my mental state. We're protecting you from yourself. You're trying to steal from me. It's not stealing if it's already ours, Jennifer shouted. But it's not yours. None of it is yours. Not the house, not the lake house, not my retirement accounts. None of it. It will be, Jennifer said coldly. Eventually. We're just trying to make sure it's managed properly until then. Michael put a hand on Jennifer's arm. Jen, this isn't... She shook him off. No, I'm done pretending. Mom, sign the papers or we go to court. Your choice. I walked to my phone. You have 30 seconds to leave my property or I'm calling the police. You wouldn't. I started dialing. They left, but not before Jennifer turned at the door. You're going to regret this. When you need us, don't bother calling. I haven't been able to count on calling you for years, I replied. This changes nothing. After they left, I locked the door with shaking hands and called David Morrison. They tried to ambush me with power of attorney papers, and they have a fake doctor's letter claiming I have dementia. Don't sign anything. Don't agree to any meetings with them alone. And Barbara, it's time to tell Emma what's in the will. She needs to be prepared. You're right. I called Emma next. Can you come over? I need to talk to you about something important. She arrived within the hour, Lily in tow again. I told her everything that had just happened. Emma's face cycled through shock, anger, and finally determination. What do you need me to do? She asked. I need you to be ready, because this is about to get much worse before it gets better. The petition arrived by certified mail on a Thursday morning in late October. Jennifer Anderson, Michael Anderson, and Rachel Morrison, petitioners, versus Barbara Jean Anderson, respondent. Petition for determination of incapacity and appointment of guardian. I sat at my kitchen table reading the legal language, and even though David had warned me this was coming, seeing it in print made my hands shake. They were really doing this. My own children were trying to have me declared incompetent. The petition was thorough, I'd give them that. It listed every phone call I'd made over the past year, every erratic behavior. My fall down the stairs was presented as evidence of physical decline. My request for them to leave the lake house was cited as paranoid hostility toward family members. And there, attached as Exhibit C, was the letter from Dr. Richard Chen stating that based on my medical history and reported behaviors I exhibited concerning signs consistent with early-stage dementia or other cognitive impairment requiring immediate intervention and protective oversight. I called David immediately. They filed, I said. I know. I got served this morning. Barbara, take a breath. We expected this. They're using my fall against me. They're twisting everything to make me look incompetent. And we have evidence proving otherwise. Your cognitive assessment from Dr. Park is recent and thorough. Your video testimony is clear and articulate. And I'm going to subpoena Dr. Chen's records. I'm betting he's never even met you. What do I do now? You live your life. You don't engage with them directly. If they contact you, document it, but don't respond. And Barbara, you might want to consider installing security cameras at both houses. You think they'd try something? I think desperate people do desperate things. That afternoon, I drove to a security company and had cameras installed at my house in Millbrook. The technician, a young man named Marcus, was patient as I explained I wanted cameras at all entrances. Are you in some kind of danger, ma'am? He asked gently. From burglars? No. From my own children? Possibly. He didn't ask any more questions. Over the next 2 weeks, my children tried everything. Jennifer sent a series of emails to my neighbors, my doctor, and the librarians I'd worked with for 33 years. The emails expressed deep concern about my well-being and asked people to report any unusual behavior. Mrs. Chen from next door called me confused. Barbara Jennifer sent me a very strange email. She's worried about you living alone. She asked me to call her if I see anything concerning. What's going on? My children are trying to take control of my finances, I said bluntly. They're making it seem like I'm losing my mind. That's terrible. You're one of the sharpest people I know. Would you be willing to write a letter saying that for my lawyer? Of course. I got similar letters from 6 neighbors, my primary care physician and the head librarian at Millbrook Public Library. Michael tried a different approach. He started bringing his children by, unexpectedly using them as emotional leverage. One Saturday, he showed up with all 3 kids and a football. Thought we'd spend the afternoon with Grandma, he announced cheerfully as if the past month hadn't happened. The children ran to hug me, Thomas Jake and little Emma. They were innocent in all this, and I loved them fiercely. We played in the yard. I made them lunch. For a few hours, it was almost normal. Then, as they were leaving, Michael said quietly, "You know the kids miss you. They don't understand why Grandma doesn't come to their games anymore. Why you don't call." "Michael, I've called. You don't answer." "Well, maybe if you weren't being so stubborn about the power of attorney, we could all move past this." Is that what this visit was, manipulation? It was me trying to rebuild our relationship. By using your children as pawns. His face flushed. That's not what I'm doing. Then what are you doing? I'm trying to save my family, Mom. The bank gave us a final notice. 60 days until foreclosure. My kids are going to lose their home, and you're sitting on $500,000 in property you don't even use. The lake house isn't yours. It will be, eventually. Why can't you just let us... He stopped, realizing what he was saying. Let you what cash in early on my death? That's not, Mom, please. I'm begging you. We need help. Then ask for help, Michael. Actually ask. Don't try to steal it. I'm asking now. I looked at my son, my gentle, thoughtful boy who'd brought me dandelions. Somewhere along the way, I'd lost him. If you drop the petition, I said slowly, if you stop this legal action and apologize, then we can talk about me helping you. Not by signing over power of attorney, but by giving you a loan properly documented that you pay back. How much? Enough to stop the foreclosure, maybe $50,000. His face lit up, then fell. Jennifer will never drop the petition. She's in too deep. And Rachel needs the money for her medical bills. She's desperate, Mom. More desperate than you. Different desperate. She's not thinking clearly. The medications mess with her judgment. Then get her better help. Use the $50,000 for all 3 of you. Split it. But Michael, you have to stop attacking me. He looked torn. For a moment I thought he might agree. Then his phone rang. He glanced at it. It's Sarah, the bank. He answered, walking away, his voice urgent. When he hung up, he wouldn't look at me. I have to go, Mom. He left without answering my offer. Rachel's approach was the most heartbreaking. She came alone on a Tuesday evening, and the moment I opened the door, I could see she was in crisis. Can I come in? Her voice was barely a whisper. Of course. She sat on my couch and stared at her hands. I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to just listen. Don't try to fix it. Don't make it about you. Just listen. Okay? I tried to kill myself 3 months ago. That's why I was in the hospital. My heart stopped. Rachel, you said you'd listen. Her voice was sharp. I took pills. A lot of pills. My neighbor found me and called 911. I was in the ICU for 2 days, then transferred to psychiatric care for 2 weeks. I wanted to reach for her to hold her, but she had her arms wrapped tight around herself, a clear signal not to touch. I'm drowning in debt from medical bills, she continued. I'm on medications that cost more than my rent. I can't afford therapy. I can barely afford to eat. And I come to school every day and pretend I'm fine, that I'm capable of teaching teenagers about Shakespeare, when I can't even figure out how to stay alive. Tears were streaming down my face. Baby, I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I'm telling you because you need to understand. When Jennifer said we should file that petition, I said yes because I'm desperate. Not because I want to hurt you, because I literally don't know how else to survive. Why didn't you tell me? Because... She finally looked at me and her eyes were wild with pain. Because you would have blamed yourself. Because you would have made it about how you failed as a mother. Because I couldn't handle carrying your guilt on top of my own. I wouldn't have. Yes, you would have. You always do. Everything becomes about you and your feelings and your sacrifice. The words were cruel, but they were true. You're right, I said quietly. You're absolutely right. Rachel seemed surprised. What? I do make things about me. I did raise you to feel guilty for needing things, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She started crying in earnest then. I don't want to fight with you anymore, Mom. I'm too tired. Then don't. Drop the petition. Let's figure out how to actually help you, not just throw money at the problem. I can't drop it. Jennifer will. I don't know what she'll do. What do you mean? Rachel looked away. She's scary when she's angry. She's always been scary. You just never saw it because you were too busy trying to keep everyone happy. Rachel, is Jennifer threatening you? Not exactly, but she has this way of making you feel like you'll lose everything if you don't do what she says. Michael's afraid of her, too. We both are. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I need you to tell me the truth. Is this petition Jennifer's idea? It was her lawyer's idea, but Jennifer pushed for it. She convinced us you were being irrational, that you'd changed your will or something crazy, that we needed to act fast. There it was. Rachel, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. If I helped you, if I paid for your treatment, your medications gave you enough to get stable, would you stand up to Jennifer? She was quiet for a long time. I don't know. I want to say yes, but I'm not strong like you. I'm not strong, honey. I'm just old and tired of being walked on. She almost smiled. That's a kind of strength. After Rachel left, I sat in the dark living room and thought about what I'd learned. Jennifer was the ringleader. Michael was conflicted. Rachel was desperate and scared. And I was running out of time. The text came on a Friday in early December. From Jennifer, we're coming to the lake house this Saturday. All of us. We need to settle this as a family. Be there at 2 p.m. Not a request. A command. I called David immediately. They're forcing a confrontation at the lake house tomorrow. Don't go alone. I'll be there. David, you don't have to. Barbara, I was Thomas's best friend. I'm not letting you walk into an ambush without backup. I called Emma next. They're coming to the lake house tomorrow for some kind of family meeting. Do you want me there? Yes, but Emma, it might get ugly. I don't care. I'm coming. Saturday morning, I drove to Vermont with a knot in my stomach. The lake house looked beautiful in the winter light. Snow dusting the roof, the lake frozen and still. David arrived first at 1:30. He set up in the living room briefcase, open documents organized on the coffee table. Emma came next with Lily. Aunt Barb, maybe Lily should wait in the car when they arrive, Emma suggested. No, I knelt down to Lily's level. Sweetheart, some adults are going to have a difficult conversation today. It might get loud. If it does, you and your mom can go upstairs to the bedroom and watch movies on her phone. Okay? Are you going to fight with the cousin's parents? Lily asked with 8-year-old directness. Maybe, but sometimes fighting is how people finally tell the truth. At 2 o'clock exactly, I heard cars pulling up. All 3 of them. And they'd brought their families. I watched through the window as they got out. Jennifer in designer winterwear checking her phone. Michael helping Sarah and the kids out of their SUV. Rachel alone in her sedan looking terrified. They started toward the house. Jennifer was already on her phone, probably photographing the property. Then she tried her key, an old copy from years ago. It didn't work. I'd changed the locks months ago. She knocked, confused, then knocked again harder. I opened the door. The expression on her face when she saw David sitting at the coffee table surrounded by legal documents was something I'd remember forever. What is he doing here? Jennifer demanded. Barbara asked me to be present, David said calmly. Please come in. We have a lot to discuss. They filed in slowly. Michael's children stayed outside with Sarah, sensing this wasn't a family gathering. Rachel's hands were shaking. If this is some kind of ambush, Jennifer started. It's not an ambush, I said quietly. It's a conversation we should have had months ago. Please sit down. They sat reluctantly on the couch and chairs. Emma stood near the fireplace with Lily. David remained at the coffee table. What's she doing here? Jennifer asked, gesturing at Emma. Emma is family, I said. She's not part of this conversation. Actually, David said she is. Emma, would you take Lily upstairs for now? Of course. Emma took her daughter upstairs, and I heard the bedroom door close. Now, David continued, opening a folder. Let's talk about the petition you filed. This is a family matter, Jennifer said. It's not your concern. When you file legal action against my client, it becomes my concern. Mrs. Anderson has asked me to review her estate planning with all of you today. The room went silent. What do you mean estate planning? Michael asked. David pulled out a document. I mean that 6 months ago, Barbara revised her will. Jennifer went pale. You did what? I revised my entire will. I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I removed all 3 of you as primary beneficiaries. The silence was deafening. Michael found his voice first. You cut us out? Not entirely. Each of you will receive $5,000 in a personal item that belonged to your father. $5,000? Jennifer stood up, shaking. $5,000? That's it. The lake house, I continued, is going to Emma. All 3 of them turned to look upstairs where Emma had gone. You're giving our lake house to her? Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. It's my lake house. And yes, Emma has shown me more care in the past 6 months than the 3 of you have in 6 years. This is because of the petition, Jennifer said. You're punishing us. No, I made this decision in March before you filed any petition, before you tried to have me declared incompetent. I made it because you showed me who you are. Who we are? Michael's voice rose. We're your children. You're adults who treat me like an ATM, who couldn't spare 15 minutes when my sister was dying, who showed up at her funeral and immediately started planning how to divide my assets. That's not fair. Isn't it? I looked at each of them. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me one of you has called in the past year just to talk, just to see how I'm doing. Not to ask for something, not to complain about your problems, but to actually connect with me. Silence. The rest of my estate, David said, is being divided among charitable trusts. The library system where Barbara worked, cancer research, scholarships for single mothers. You're giving our inheritance to strangers, Jennifer said, her voice venomous. I'm giving my money to causes that matter to me. We matter to you. Do you? Because you have a funny way of showing it. Then Jennifer said the quiet part out loud. You can't do this. That money is ours. We've been counting on it. We've made plans based on it. Plans based on my death. Yes, she was shouting now. Yes, based on your death. You're 72 years old. You've had a good life. When are you going to stop being so selfish and think about us? The room froze. Even Jennifer seemed to realize she'd gone too far. Did you really just say that? Michael asked her. Did you really just call Mom selfish for not dying fast enough? That's exactly what you said, Rachel whispered. I felt surprisingly calm. This was it. The truth finally out in the open. You want to know why I changed my will? I said. That right there. You don't see me as a person. You see me as an obstacle between you and money. Mom, Michael started. Let me finish. I stood up. I know about all of it. Jennifer's debt, Michael's foreclosure, Rachel's hospitalization. I know you're desperate, and I'm sorry, genuinely sorry that you're all struggling. If you're so sorry, help us, Jennifer said. I offered Michael $50,000 to stop the foreclosure. He walked away. Michael looked shocked. You what? I told you. If you dropped the petition and apologized, I would help you. You chose not to. I didn't think you were serious. I was completely serious. But you and Jennifer were too busy trying to steal from me to hear an actual offer of help. David stood up. Let me be clear about something. This will is legal, properly executed, and ironclad. Barbara underwent cognitive assessment. She has video testimony explaining her decisions. We have documentation of your attempts to coerce her, including the fraudulent doctor's letter. Fraudulent? Jennifer tried to look innocent. Dr. Chen has admitted he never examined Barbara. He wrote that letter based on information you provided. That's fraud, and it could get him disbarred. Jennifer's face went white. However, I said, and everyone looked at me. I'm willing to make you an offer. What kind of offer? Rachel asked. Drop the petition. All of you. Apologize, and agree to attend family therapy with me for 1 year. Family therapy? Jennifer laughed bitterly. You think therapy is going to fix this? I think therapy might help us communicate honestly for the first time in decades. And if you agree, I'll provide financial help, not by changing my will, but by giving you each what you need right now. How much? Michael asked. I looked at David. He pulled out 3 envelopes. Jennifer, $50,000 to address your immediate debt. Michael, $50,000 to stop your foreclosure. Rachel, $75,000 for medical care and treatment, plus I'll pay for your therapy and medications for the next 5 years. The room was silent except for Rachel's quiet crying. Michael did the math. That's almost $200,000. Yes? Why? Jennifer asked suspiciously. What's the catch? The catch is you have to actually work on our relationship. You have to show up to therapy. You have to try. And the will stays the same, Jennifer asked. The will stays the same. The lake house still goes to Emma. But you'll have the resources you need right now, and maybe we can rebuild something real. Michael was crying. Mom, I don't know what to say. Say you'll try. He nodded. Rachel was openly sobbing now. You'd really pay for my treatment. I'd really pay for it. But Rachel, you have to actually go. You have to take it seriously. I will. I promise I will. All eyes turned to Jennifer. She stood there, arms crossed, face hard. This is manipulation, she said finally. How is offering help manipulation? You're buying our compliance. You're bribing us to pretend everything's okay. I'm not bribing you to pretend. I'm asking you to actually try to fix what's broken. What's broken is that you cut us out of your will for a woman who's not even your daughter. Jennifer pointed upstairs. Emma swoops in at the end of Aunt Patricia's life, plays the devoted niece, and gets rewarded with $500,000 in property. Emma didn't swoop in. She was always there while you were too busy to visit. Because I was working, because I was trying to build a life, and now you're punishing me for it. I'm not punishing you, Jennifer. I'm protecting myself. She laughed harshly. You want to know the truth, Mom? Fine. I hate that lake house. I always have. Dad made us go there every summer, and it was boring, and there was nothing to do, and I was miserable. But I pretended to love it because that's what you wanted. The words hit me like a slap. You hated it, yes. And Michael did too, probably. We all just pretended because you and Dad were so obsessed with making it our special family place. I looked at Michael. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Is that true? I didn't hate it, he said quietly. But it was more your dream than ours, Mom. I sat down heavily. All those years, all those memories I'd treasured. They'd been pretending. So this is what you really think of me, I said softly. That I forced you to pretend to be happy. That I manipulated you with guilt. Not forced, Rachel said. But Mom, you had this vision of the perfect family, and we all tried so hard to be what you wanted. But we were never good enough. I never said you weren't good enough. You didn't have to say it. Every time we disappointed you, you'd get this look, this hurt, martyred look that made us feel guilty for being human. David touched my arm gently. Barbara, maybe we should take a break. No, I stood up. No, this is good. This is honest. Finally. I looked at my 3 children, really looked at them. You're right, I said. About a lot of it. I did try to create a perfect family. I did use guilt. I did make my love conditional on you meeting my expectations. And I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry. They seemed shocked. But I continued, that doesn't excuse how you've treated me. Your resentment, your entitlement, your cruelty. You're adults. At some point, you have to take responsibility for your own choices. So where does that leave us? Michael asked. I looked at the 3 envelopes on the coffee table. It leaves you with a choice. Take the help and do the work, or walk away and keep the $5,000 from the will. But you can't have both. You can't take my money and keep treating me like garbage. Jennifer stared at the envelope with her name on it. I could see the war in her eyes. Finally, she said, what happens if we take the money and don't follow through on therapy? Then I file a civil suit for fraud and recover the funds. You'd sue us? I'd protect myself. Yes. She picked up the envelope, opened it. Inside was a check. This is really $50,000. Yes. She looked at me for a long moment. You really would give this to me, after everything? I really would. Because despite everything, you're still my daughter. And I still love you. Her face crumpled. For the first time in years, I saw my little girl under all that armor. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I became someone I don't even recognize." I stood and opened my arms. She fell into them crying like she hadn't cried since she was a child. Michael joined us, then Rachel, and we stood in the middle of the lake house, the place I'd loved, and they'd pretended to love holding each other while we cried. David quietly excused himself to the porch. When we finally separated, Emma came downstairs with Lily. "Is everything okay?" Emma asked carefully. "It's going to be," I said. We sat around the dining table, the one Thomas had built, and talked. Really talked. For hours. Jennifer admitted she'd been jealous of Emma. "She seemed to have this easy relationship with you. No baggage, no history. Just love." "It wasn't easy," Emma said quietly. "I was terrified every time I came over. Terrified you'd all resent me for being close to Aunt Barb." "We did," Jennifer said honestly. "But that wasn't your fault. It was ours." Michael talked about the pressure of being the man of the house after Thomas died. "I was 18. I didn't know how to be a man. And I felt like I was failing Dad every single day." "Your father never wanted you to carry that burden," I said. "That was my fault. I put it on you." Rachel talked about her mental health struggles, how they'd started in high school but she'd hidden them. "I was so afraid of disappointing you. You'd already lost Dad. I couldn't bear to be another problem." We talked about money, about expectations, about the toxic patterns we'd created together. "The lake house should stay with Emma," Jennifer said finally. "Not because we don't want it, but because she deserves it. And honestly, selling it was only ever about the money for us." "Thank you," Emma said softly. "But Jennifer continued looking at me. "I'd like to still visit sometimes, if Emma's okay with that. Not to claim ownership, just to maybe make some real memories here." "I'd like that," Emma said. "Lily would love to have cousins to play with." We talked about therapy. David knew a family therapist in Hartford who specialized in complex family dynamics. We agreed to start in January. Michael brought up the foreclosure. "Mom, I can't take $50,000 from you. It's too much." "Michael, do you want to lose your house?" "No, but then take it and pay me back when you can. We'll set up a proper loan agreement, interest-free, no pressure, but official, so you don't feel like you owe me your soul." He nodded, tears in his eyes. Rachel was harder to convince. "What if I can't get better? What if therapy doesn't work?" "Then we keep trying. Rachel, you deserve to be well. Not for me, not for anyone else. For yourself." "I don't know if I'm worth the investment." "You are. You absolutely are." By the time we finished, it was dark outside. Sarah came in with the kids who were cold and hungry and wondering why the adults had been talking so long. I made hot chocolate. Emma found cookies in the pantry. We all crowded into the living room, 3 generations messy and complicated and trying. Jennifer's daughter Isabella sat next to Lily and they talked about school. The boys ran around making noise. Little Emma fell asleep on the couch next to Sarah. It wasn't perfect. It was exhausting and uncomfortable, and we were all dancing around old wounds. But it was real. As everyone was leaving, Jennifer pulled me aside. "Mom, I need to know something." "What, E? If we mess this up, if we can't change, will you really keep us cut out of the will?" I looked at my daughter. "Honestly, I don't know. But Jennifer, the will isn't the point anymore. The point is whether we can have a real relationship. One where we actually show up for each other. I want that. I really do. I'm just scared I don't know how." "Neither do I. That's why we're getting help." She hugged me tight. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, baby." After everyone left, Emma and I cleaned up while Lily slept on the couch. "Are you okay?" Emma asked. "I don't know. Are you okay? You're the one getting your cousins back after they've been terrible to both of us." "I think I'm okay with it. They were honest today. That counts for something." "The lake house is still yours," I said firmly, "no matter what happens with them." "I know, and I'm grateful. But Aunt Barb, if letting them visit makes your family better, I'm okay with that. You're a better person than I am. I learned from watching you." 6 months passed. We went to therapy, all of us together and separately. It was brutal. The therapist, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, didn't let us hide behind politeness. She made us say the hard things, own our part in the dysfunction. I had to admit I'd used money to control them, that I'd made them feel like they could never measure up, that I'd prioritized an idealized version of family over the real people in front of me. They had to admit they'd taken advantage, that they'd treated me as a resource rather than a person, that they'd been cruel. We fought. God, how we fought. Jennifer walked out of 2 sessions. Michael cried through most of them. Rachel had a panic attack in session 4, but we kept showing up. In March, a year after I'd first changed my will, we had a family dinner at the lake house. Not because it was required, because we wanted to. Jennifer brought wine and stories about her new job, less money, but better hours. She'd started dating someone, a widower she'd met at a support group for divorced parents. Michael brought pictures of his house. They'd used the money to stop foreclosure and repair the roof. Sarah's cancer was still in remission. The boys were thriving. Rachel looked healthier than I'd seen her in years. The medication was working. She'd found a therapist she loved. She was teaching summer school and had even started dating, nothing serious, just coffee with another teacher. Emma and Lily were there too because they were family. We cooked together, told stories, laughed. It wasn't perfect. Jennifer still checked her phone too much. Michael worried constantly. Rachel got anxious. But it was real. After dinner, I found myself on the dock with Emma while the others cleaned up inside. "You did it," Emma said. "You rebuilt your family." "We rebuilt it. Together. It's not the family I imagined when I was raising them. It's messier, more complicated. But it's honest." "Are you going to change the will back?" I'd been thinking about that. "I don't know. Maybe someday. Or maybe I'll adjust it, give them a bit more, but keep the bulk for charity." The point was never really about the money. What was it about? Self-respect, boundaries, teaching them that love isn't about transactions. Did they learn? I watched through the window as Jennifer dried dishes while Michael washed, the 2 of them laughing about something. Rachel was sitting at the table with Lily, helping her with a puzzle. "They're learning," I said. "We all are. I'm 74 now. I still live in my house in Millbrook, though I've downsized to a smaller place with a garden. The lake house belongs to Emma, officially. The deed transferred last year. But it's become a family house in a new way. Emma runs it as a retreat center in summer, hosting writing workshops and art classes. The rest of the year we share it. My children come with their families. We have holidays there, birthdays, sometimes just random weekends. Jennifer is remarried to her widower, Alan. They blend their families beautifully. She calls me once a week just to talk, sometimes about serious things, sometimes about nothing. Michael's business is thriving. He paid back the loan last year, insisted on adding interest even though I said not to. We have Sunday dinners at his house once a month. Rachel is managing her mental health. She had a setback last winter, a bad episode, but this time she called me. She let me help. That meant more to me than anything. We still go to therapy. Not every week anymore, but monthly. Dr. Rodriguez says we're her favorite success story. My will has been adjusted. The lake house stays with Emma, but I've added provisions for my children enough that they'll be secure, but with the bulk still going to charity. They understand. More importantly, they accept it. Last summer, we had a family reunion at the lake house. All 3 kids, their spouses, my 6 grandchildren, Emma and Lily. 20 people crowded into that house Thomas and I bought 40 years ago. We took a family photo on the dock. When I look at it now, I see something I didn't see in all those old photos I treasured. I see people who are really present, who chose to be there, who aren't pretending. It's not perfect. We still hurt each other, still disappoint each other, still struggle. But we show up, we apologize, we try. And that's what love actually looks like. Not the perfect vision I once had, but something real messy and infinitely more valuable. My name is Barbara, and I'm 74 years old. I changed my will, stood up to my children, and almost lost them completely. But in losing the relationship I thought I had, I gained something better. The truth.